This
controller, I'm like, there's
conference
got to
will
be a
now
better
be
way.
recorded.
Yeah. Have you tried it through Lightburn?
Oh yeah,
Through G code?
that's how
Is
I
that how
did
you're
that
setting
video.
presets?
Well, that's how that video is run. Yeah, if you look at the full video on YouTube, you'll see it run through back and forth between all the different cups, and that's just hitting the separate presets.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
so yeah, it'll be cool. I don't know if I'm gonna sell it mainstream or if it's just gonna be like a hobby kit that people can put
Yeah.
on themselves. Because it takes a while to hook it up and get it all set up. I mean,
Yeah. You
it's
lose
not a
some
quick.
height too with those motors up there, like on the 24s and stuff. There may need to be
Yeah,
some.
well, the good thing about that is you can just flip it around and switch pin number 5, and it'll reverse the rotation of the motor.
Mhm.
So I mean that'd be an easy fix. And plus, looking to get motors with extensions, so you can put the knob up there too, so you can still do fine adjustments. Because
Yeah.
the motors are disabled when it's at idle. It's not like the laser where they're
Yeah.
powered. Um,
Yeah.
so you can turn them.
Mhm. Were they
But
just NEMA 17s?
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Cool. That's a neat thing. I bet you can find a motor that'll turn those that might be in a special package, maybe has a gearbox on or something, something miniature at some point as you move along. I know some of those little motors are pretty stiff nowadays. They
Yeah,
can handle
I've
quite a
had
bit.
I've had other thoughts of how to do it. I was gonna do it belt drive, offset
Hmm.
motor belt drive and stuff, but this was the most practical. I mean, because it. All right, see you tomorrow. This was the most practical because it just
Yeah.
basically replaces the top cap,
Yeah.
and it has its
It,
fixture that goes on there.
and are you going to do that just on the full, or are you going to offer a single one for the junior? There won't be as much adjustability, but it'll still be automatic.
Well, I was looking at that, and through the control software, you have to have an XYZ for auto homing. So there's no way to auto home it. So you could do it, but you'd have to have more manual control as far as resetting your origin and all that stuff after because you can take it back to the limit switch and it'll stop it.
Mhm.
And then you could take it to the bottom of the other limit switch, it'll stop it. And then you could reset your origin to 0 right there, and then work everything off of that.
Yeah.
But the way this is set up, it uses X, Y, and Z to control everything, and they work, you know, cohesively through the
Hmm.
Lightburn or the Lightburn software.
That's cool. I like to see where you go with that.
Yeah, it'll be pretty interesting. And like I said, I'm tinkering with the idea of Arduino. But the problem with that is doing that is cool, and you get a little bit more flexibility, but you take up a lot more room because you have to
Mhm.
have alternate boards to control the limit switches and things like that. Whereas this, it's just you just plug the limit switches into it,
Right.
and it's already built into it, and you're ready to go. So, um, and plus, it's the most cost-effective
Yeah.
way to do it with this setup here,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
right now.
Cool.
But
So, so I've been playing with the Odin, and again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to kick your mic on and jump in. Tell me to be quiet. We were doing a speed test on on a particular part. It was text generated within Lightburn of a certain size. It was a brand for a company, and we wanted to test it on the Nova and the Odin and see what would be fastest. And even though the Odin goes 2,000 millimeters per second, it also has to travel back and forth twice as many times
mm-hmm.
because the spot size is so much smaller. Your line interval has to be half that of what it is almost, with the Nova. So there's
Oh
not
wow,
really, at the end of the day, there's not a huge amount of time difference. Where I'm seeing the biggest time differences, and this is with Nova too, but especially on the Odin, because the extend space, it's actually not more if you measure it, but percentage wise or ratio wise it is, because that thing's moving at 2,000 millimeters per second. I was faster on my output at 1,000 millimeters per second out doing text than I was at 2,000. It saved me like 6 seconds just slowing down so that I didn't have all of that buffer on each side. So
Yeah.
I've been playing with that kind of stuff. See, and I've never really experienced. I've never had to take something and go, I need to get this done faster because I need to make more money because I don't make things. So
Yeah.
it's neat. It's neat for me to see this stuff actually happen instead of just theorizing about it. You know what I mean?
Looks
So
like I was testing the 63 with that too. I had an image, and I did it at 300, 600, and 1,000.
mhm,
300 and 600 were like, I don't know, a second or two difference, not much difference at all. Um, but 1,000, I mean, it was almost 15 seconds longer
mhm,
at 1,000 than it was at 600 for the same image.
right.
So it's like we talk about frequently is, speed doesn't equal faster time
Yeah.
necessarily. Um,
So yeah, that's pretty good stuff. So I'll be doing some more with it. I'm gonna make some videos finally and do some more Odin stuff and some Aurora stuff. I'll dust that thing off. We got to get that thing going. What about yours, Jason? Is your I think
um,
it's your source. I mean,
yeah,
I'm
I mean,
positive it's the source.
everything worked fine for. I mean, I used the heck out of it because I use it double fisted with doing rotary parts, and I noticed it started cutting out, and so I videoed it, and that's what the video that I posted. That
Yeah.
it was working fine, and all of a sudden, in spots, it would cut out, and then it just quit. Everything quit. The red dot and the laser just quit altogether. Checked the power supply on top; it was still putting out power. Control board was still flashing the lights when you hit laser. The light would come on, it would go off when the
Yeah.
laser would go off. You could hear the gimbals moving. I mean, everything essentially was working as it should. It just wasn't putting out any light or beam.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that
they're gonna
sounds
send a
like
new source, new cables, um,
good.
and I'll swap it out and see what happens. I'm pretty sure that's what it is because you can hear the fans on the source
Yeah,
running. You
and
can feel the
I don't
air.
think I assume they'll get that source back from you so they can reverse engineer it and troubleshoot it.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah, they want
I,
me to troubleshoot and then they said mail it back, but they haven't given me details on the mail it back yet. But
yeah,
obviously sending it back to them for
yeah,
whatever they need to do with
they'll
it.
definitely want to dig into that one and see what caused it. I don't think it's going to be like the laser source failing itself. Like I don't think it'll be the fiber source, or I don't think it'll be the red dot. I think it will be something in there that controls both of them. You know, that's at the
We
logic level or something. Because if it's
well
got power going to it and the fans are on,
the
you
funny
know,
thing is like when you run a frame, you can hear the gimbals in there moving
yeah,
around. Well, when I hit laser, you can hear what it would sound like if it was hitting the metal and engraving the metal. You can hear that buzz
hmm,
inside, but nothing's coming out.
yeah,
I took the lens off. I tried it without the lens on it just to see if anything would come out. Maybe the lens,
hmm.
I don't know, got delaminated, distorted, whatever, and it still wouldn't put out any kind of anything.
Yeah,
Um,
I know that the red dot is introduced in the source, unlike a gantry laser where it's on a mount with a beam
yeah,
combiner. So I don't know the structure though. I don't know how it's introduced into the beam. So if it's like an optic problem, maybe an output coupler, failed, and that
mm,
wouldn't let either one through. So I
well,
mean,
there's a
it could be
combiner beam. Ain't there a combiner lens in there or something
it's
of some
there's
sort?
probably something similar, but see the way that fiber works, they can probably inject that red dot right into the fiber. You
Well,
know,
no, I
they
mean, but there like a filter lens that it goes through before it goes to the actual gimbal? Because something's got to shrink that beam down to hit the gimbals. I would think.
yeah, well, all that stuff I'd say would be in however the output coupler works in that source, but the red dot will be
Oh,
combined before it ever leaves. I think they share optics all the way out. You see what
okay.
I mean? So I don't,
Yeah.
it could be an optical problem. It could be the output, or it could actually. I don't see both sources failing at the same time unless whatever is triggering or powering them has gone down inside, at the
Yeah.
board level inside the source. So it may turn out to be optical. Did you try releasing that fiber cable and actually
I
relaxing
am.
it and pulling
I
the
unplugged
bends out of it?
everything. Yep. I unplugged
Yeah,
everything on both ends. I did little tug tests on them and
yeah.
stuff.
Did you stare into the
Um,
end of it?
No, hold on a second.
Okay, good. So, what's up, Travis?
Not much. Just working.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So, yep.
like I said, it's weird because when you hit laser or when you hit cut, you can actually hear it inside, like
Hmm.
you would hear it if it was actually hitting the metal. So I'm wondering if that whatever you're talking about, the
Yeah.
coupler, if it
Whatever the
shifted,
optic is in there. Yeah,
if it
that's what
shifted
I'm.
or something, and you can still hear the beam hitting whatever's inside there. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you'd probably
But
see smoke after a while. So, I mean, you could just keep running it until you see smoke and smoke it out.
well,
We've done that with
that's the only thing
copulars
I'm worried
before to
about
find
is
problems.
if the head is actually or the tube area, something's wrong with that. I haven't opened that up to look in it yet. Um, to see if maybe that piece that you're talking about that's
I
between the
don't.
laser and the output.
Well, that'll be all encased in that thing in that source. I don't think it would be user serviceable at that point. I think that's why they're just going to swap your source out.
Well, the source, the box is what they're replacing.
Right.
I'm talking.
Everything's
I'm
in there.
talking. I'm talking about the part where the laser comes out of the gantry, the overhang part, the
Oh, at the
long,
top.
yeah, the long part with the lens on it, or with the yeah, the
Yeah.
lens and the gimbal
Um,
and everything. If something in there shifted, which it shouldn't have. I mean, I haven't moved it, so I don't know
it
why it
shouldn't
would.
have. You'd think you would. Now you could release the cable, and just point it at something and fire it and see if you get any sparks.
Oh,
You know,
I haven't tried that. I don't think I want to try that.
be sure you stand in a bucket of water when you're messing with that stuff too, since we're
Right?
talking about good troubleshooting practices.
That might give me a shock that I don't want.
It may. It may.
But oh well. Hopefully they'll get it figured out.
Yeah, we'll get it figured out. Sorry you're the guinea pig, but this is good for me because I'm learning the
Well,
diagnostics on this stuff as we go along too.
it's better me than somebody else that don't want to deal with it or can't deal with it or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I got another laser, so I'm not worried about it. But they'll get it fixed, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. So, anybody got anything new?
I did post a link to that video in the chat in case anybody's. When they watch the video, can they see that chat or no? Or is that just here while we're talking?
That's just here while we're talking, I think.
Oh,
And as a matter of fact, I had someone ask about where they can retrieve that, and I'm not sure that that's
you talking about the
recorded.
transcript
Yeah, I'm talking.
or
Yeah,
the
the
the chat?
transcripts are there, but I don't think whatever's talked about in the chat windows are published.
Mm.
And that's a limitation of the GoToMeeting thing that we use. That's just how their system is,
Well, I did
unless
notice
I'm
too
missing
that they
something.
don't show the names of the people either. Like we can see the names of everybody
Yeah,
when you watch the videos. That's gone. So
yeah, they redact some stuff.
yeah,
So, and then some of that I don't have any control over. But yeah, I'm not sure that you can, because they were wanting some links that we had been linking along the thing. I wanted to go back in the old videos and find the links, but I don't think it's possible to do that.
yeah, you'd have to basically copy and then paste that whole chat in the description of the video so people could see it if they needed it, maybe
Yeah.
as an option.
Yeah, well, there's a link there in the description that'll take you to all that data, the chats and the
Oh,
slide decks. Like if we share any screens,
oh, okay.
it'll save snapshots of that and make it into a slide deck. So there's information there. The full
Oh,
transcripts are available to people, somewhat redacted probably, but just not the actual chat discussions with the links in them, I think.
yeah. You like that, Jim?
Like what?
Oh, what are you watching?
The convoy through Ohio, they said that Ohio's got some of the largest turnouts. Our overpasses and along the interstates is absolutely insane with the amount of
Oh,
people. And they're getting
I
ready to
seen.
approach where I live at.
Oh,
But they were stretched on the 270 lower belt. Holy crap, that's our road. Um, I mean, it's just insane. But they were on one side of 270, stretched around the whole entire belt from almost one side of it to the other.
Hmm. Um, oh, I do have something that's a little bit new for anybody that may get anything from this. I did have one of the new fans, the inline, the white fans that are coming with the machines now, that did not work on arrival. And there was a connector
without a plug.
on the inside that wasn't plugged in. Yeah, well, I've had that, and I've also had one that had a 220 plug on it. So
Oh, wow.
we're still working out and I had to send them one of those things I'm gonna send you. But we're still working out a few little bugs on the fans. Most of them are dual voltage, so even if you get one with a 220 plug, all we do is just swap the plug. And
Are they self-switching or do they have a switch?
yeah, no, they don't have a switch. I don't think
No.
they'll auto sense. So that part doesn't matter. Some of them were mislabeled and said 220 or didn't say 110 and 220, and some things like that. And we've had a few with the wiring being wrong, the pigtail, because they do all that stuff at Thunder, from what I understand. They get the fans and then they modify them, with our proprietary connectors. So, and the reason they do that on the back is so you can't just plug any old standard thing into the back of the laser. So that's why
Yeah.
they're keyed special, if any, and that's why you have to have adapters if you run external fans with a standard plug.
I did notice something that's somewhat of a pain. The chiller, how it's tied into the electrical of the
Mhm.
when you at least on my 63 that I just got,
Mhm.
it's tied in so the chiller only comes on when the laser is turned on.
Yeah.
Which I ran into an issue with somebody I was helping them troubleshoot, and they couldn't figure out why their chiller wouldn't come on. Of course, I didn't know at the time you had to power on the laser to get the chiller, but also if you turn the laser off, like just the switch on the side,
Mhm.
if you turn the laser off, the chiller also turns off.
That's supposed to.
And
That
they
way
were
you leave the chiller power switch on all the time, and that way you can turn your main power switch on and get in light burn and do your stuff. And then when you're ready to run the machine, reach over and hit the laser switch, and that only controls the laser power supply and the chiller. And it's on a
Yeah.
big 60 amp contactor, 50 amp contactor or something. So it can handle
we
it all.
sat there chasing our tails trying to figure out why their chiller wouldn't come on. And I'm like, well, go ahead and like turn everything on. It powered everything on. Sure enough, like an hour later.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it's not really a pain, but it's just
You just got to know how to use it.
something. Yeah.
No.
Thanks.
No.
But no, it was. I mean, just me trying to help somebody, not knowing that, it kind of led us down a rabbit hole. And then, like as a last resort, she was pulling out her hair.
Gotcha.
I was like, go ahead and turn everything on, like you were getting ready to use the machine, the laser, the everything. And sure enough, it fired right up. So
Yeah. Matter of
this
fact,
was-
that whole circuit is on a separate filtered, the only thing on that AC line, when that contactor kicks in, is the chiller and the laser power supply. Since they work together anyway, that way, it's for safety. You can turn the laser power supply off when you're checking your air pressure, for instance, and putting your finger under there and turning it on and listening and feeling, because these power supplies, when they go out, they can fire randomly. They can fire without you telling it to when they start going bad eventually.
Yeah.
If you got your finger under there checking your air and it fires without you knowing, that might be a little surprise. So that's kind of the purpose.
I don't know. Ladybug survived, or stink bug survived. Your finger should be all right.
Well, that's different. Yeah, it'll just hurt. I've burned myself a few times. It's not pleasant.
We don't have the armor plating.
I was being a complete dummy. I was running my 63, and you see the pictures and stuff of people getting burnt by the laser. Well, I had my belt was a little bit loose. It was oscillating when it was traversing back and forth, and like a dummy, while it was running, I put my hand up there to buffer the belt, and I didn't burn it bad. It just barely hit me because I was pretty quick about it.
Oh yeah.
But I put my hand through the dang beam while it was running.
I think everybody does that. It's kind of like touching the stove. That's how you learn not to.
Well, I mean, it wasn't intentional. It's just, I mean, I've been doing this stuff for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm still sitting here doing that stupid stuff. So I mean,
I get it.
It happens. But
I,
yeah,
I still forget my e-stop switch sometimes and my laser power switch.
I only use the e-stop. I don't mess with the switches on the side. I turn everything off with the e-switch.
Hey, Brian, is there a way to run a job without firing the laser? In other words, like, let's say I wanted to, I mean, I know I can frame in advance, but let's say I wanted to find out what the swing, the head is on a particular job before I actually activate. Is there a way to turn the laser off and still run the job?
Not an easy way. You could do it through the control panel or through the machine settings, which I don't recommend. You could pull the 6-pin connector off the back of the laser power supply, but none of those. You could set all your powers to 0
Right.
in
Okay,
Lightburn
that's what I figured.
something like that. I believe Chris is working on a chart. He's calculated those extended spaces, the buffer zones, on depending on how fast you're going. So
okay.
it might not be something that you have to actually figure out for too much longer, because I think he's got an article he's writing on it that actually has the values, so you can, actually look and get a pretty good idea of what that buffer zone is going to be without actually having to go through the motions. But there's not a super easy way. The easiest way is to probably turn laser 1 off in the vendor settings, but that's also under the hood stuff that you don't typically want to mess with.
Yeah, I don't want to be mucking with that. All right. Well, I'll look forward to that.
If you want to shoot me a message, we can jump in there and investigate that a little bit and see the best way. I think maybe doing your design twice and making one set of them, you even have them overlap and just have them different layers, then just turn the layers off. You can do something pretty quick like that, where you could just turn on a layer that has 0 power on it, and it'll be in the same place and everything, so you get the same placement. Just run duplicates. And there may be.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I thought I've seen it, maybe not with a Thunder laser, but maybe some other laser. But I thought I saw somebody doing that, and I thought, I wonder, I haven't been able to find anything, and I figured, well, okay, I guess you just run it with 0 power, and that would be.
You used to be able to turn off the laser power switch, but now that the chiller is on it, if you turn off before on the machines that had the chiller that you plug up externally that weren't through the machine, the only thing that switch and contactor worked, the laser power switch, was the laser power supply. In that instance, if you had an older machine that the chiller wasn't connected, or if you want to plug your chiller up on the wall, you can turn the laser power switch off and it doesn't know that it's not firing.
Gotcha.
So
yeah, well, maybe that's what I saw was something from one of the legacy machines.
The older machines, you could just turn the laser switch off, and then it would go through the motions, because it didn't have an alarm because the chiller was still active, right?
Right.
So
Gotcha.
on the newer machines with the chiller powered with the same port, that's where you get a water error, and that's why you can't run the laser in dummy mode or whatever, just by flipping that switch anymore.
Better to make it idiot-proof.
So. It's more for ease. Some of the stuff isn't quite idiot proof, but we do our best.
So Brian, I got a thing for your next meeting.
Okay.
All the new features in Lightburn that was just released. You can go over all of them and explain them to us.
What was just released?
Travis has already done that.
What'd they release?
1.
Yeah, I'm on beta, so
1.1 was just released, I think.
It's got
that's not the fiber yet, is it?
No, it's not quite. It's got the material test, I think, built in it. I don't know if it's got circle or circumference correction or whatever in it or not. But it does have the nesting now, not the full blown nesting, but the one that uses the API through Nest.io or whatever.
Yeah,
does it have where they added the laser tool menu?
Yes.
Up at the top.
Hold on, I'll pop open the change log.
Well, I was getting ready to tell you. I didn't know if I was hot or not. It's got the skew tool, the laser center finder tool, material test generator, import text from SVGs, image adjustment presets, drag handle toggles, and then everything else, which is like a whole list of things I don't think you want me to sit here and do. It's version 1.1.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Well, for us on beta, it doesn't really mean much saying version 1.1 because we're all on 1.1 beta.
I know.
Yeah, I like the import text from SVG.
But I mean, do they actually have, like, up at the top where you have file edit tools? Do they have a laser tool drop down now?
Yes.
Okay, so they did bring that in. So one important thing to notice with that is that they moved the rotary setup from the tools menu to laser tools menu.
It's actually it's actually in its own thing down below all the tools right across the top. There's actually a little rotary setup thing in the toolbar across the top now.
Yep.
It's actually just a little circle thing with a square in the middle of it, says rotary setup, and then there's a show print and cut setup right next to that. That's actually just icons.
I like how they put in there, for the roller rotary, the values below this are not required. This is just a useful calculator. That'll help keep people from getting confused as to what that is, because those numbers are relevant.
Uh-oh.
And they put it back to 88 millimeters. Woohoo! Good.
Cool. I like it. It's making me do a critical patch update. I'm probably going to have to go get the new beta again, because I think it's going to roll me back to the production version.
That's what happened to me.
It did. It did it to me just now when I
That's
updated.
fine. I need to see what is and isn't in those anyway, you know. So it'll be good for me. I'll mess with it for a little bit before I go back to the beta.
See that
and as soon as you load the beta, it's going to come up with a warning that you need to update again.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to those.
But there's your good
meeting. I got stuck in that loop for a second before it dawned on me because I wasn't really paying attention. Like, what the hell?
Cool. Yeah, I'll mess with that later. Hey, Grant, what's happening, man?
There he is. You're muted.
Is there one loaded up?
He's on the phone.
Oh, yeah, he's on the phone.
Grant, check out the video and
always
check out
hustling.
the video in chat.
He saw it.
I was looking at it.
Did you?
That's what prompted me to get on here. I forgot this was going on. I sent Brian a message. I said, "Did you see the new rotary thing that Jason's doing?" He said that y'all are talking about it on the webinar, so here I am.
We talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, we're done.
I can talk more about it. I mean, like I said, the video is out, so I mean, it's not a big secret anymore.
Well, I'm sure this has already been talked about, but like, what is the motorized stuff doing? Like, if I put the cup on there, does it automatically level it out, or does it like have a memory of, like, if you do the same cup, you can save where that was located?
If you look at the full video, you'll see it where it's switching. Because if you the little TikTok would only let me put a minute up there. The full video is about 4 minutes, and it goes through and shows you switching between all the different cups. And what it is presets in Lightburn that all you do is you basically go through and set it up initially, and then you save that profile and name it whatever, and then that way every time you go back to that particular cup, you just click on that profile, the rotary will automatically home, and it'll automatically go to the position for that particular cup. And you can do that. You can do that for an unlimited number of objects, I think. I don't know that there's a cap on it. I haven't filled up mine for the test. I just did like a water bottle, 30-ounce coffee mug, and then a 20-ounce just to show the demo. But yeah, it's pretty sweet. I'm very very stoked about it myself.
No, that's super cool, man.
What's the price tag?
You don't want to know. I don't know yet. It's not cheap, but it's not as much as the rotary itself.
Yeah, that's what you call a bell or a whistle.
Yeah,
and those aren't cheap, and that's
the thing is,
that's what they're for.
when I originally designed this one in particular, because this was the first one that I ever made, the whole point behind the lead screws were to make it automated.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously time and money and things like that kind of got in the way until now, where I'm able to do it. So it was more of a passion project than it was meant to be.
That seems like what all your projects are, and they usually turn out pretty good. So
yeah. Well, this one's been it's been about 3 years in the making. Because like I said, from the very get-go, and that's why I use lead screws mainly, was to be able to do that at some point.
Mhm.
And then obviously now with technology and time and money to do it, I've been able to figure it out.
So are you going to build
R&D.
it? So you're
It's
going to build
also
an app?
got and it's
Go ahead.
also got soft limits in it too. So once you home, it'll only let you travel so far on each axis, so it doesn't crash and
That's
skip
just the
steps
way
on the stepper.
the Thunder is too.
Yep.
You've got only one X switch and one Y switch.
Yep.
And the
So
rest of it's a software stop.
as soon as it homes, that's 0,
Yeah.
and then from there you set it in the parameters to only travel X amount of distance, and it'll automatically stop to keep it from crashing.
Mhm.
So you're going to make it Wi-Fi and then make an app for it, so that way you can do like the cup picture on your phone and just hit the button on your phone and have it all auto adjust.
Well, I mean, if I ever go,
If you're going to do it, you
really,
might as well do it.
well, if I go a different route with the controller, I'll have that option. I can go Wi-Fi. I have a avenue I'm looking at going with it, which will give you. It's almost like Octoprint for 3D printing. I don't know who is that. Hey Grant.
Grandmother
Here you
line.
go. So it's almost like Octoprint or something like that, where it's an actual app that you can go into on your phone, and you can control it wirelessly with your phone if you wanted to. But this here is going to be controlled through Lightburn. So all it is a matter of adding it as a device in Lightburn like you do with your laser. And then when you want to use the rotary, you just go to that device, do your thing, and then switch back to the laser and go at it. And then if you need to switch the cup, you just go back to your presets, click it, it goes, and then you go back to your laser. And
Actually,
I've
I was
done
just joking.
well, no, but I mean that trust me, I can't leave well enough alone with anything. So if there's a way to do it, I'll figure a way eventually. It may not be available anytime soon, but it definitely is something I'm entertaining for sure.
Everything else is Wi-Fi anymore and phone apps. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I'm still waiting on
I've
the
done
Lightburn
countless.
camera to work on the bridge, but that's
Well,
not super high on their priority list right now.
well, see the thing with this rotary too is it has to be connected by USB.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping I don't have a Lightburn bridge, but I'm hoping it'll be able to plug into the Lightburn bridge and work through all that instead
I
of
don't
having
think
a
it
separate.
will.
No.
It's not because
Hmm.
they wrote that distro just for that. So I mean, it's custom the way it communicates with Lightburn. If it doesn't have that function in it, it's not a plug and play
Actually,
USB. I don't think.
actually, you know what I could do is I could tie it into the external USB port on the laser. So the USB, you can have a USB going to the laser, plug into the side of the laser, and
Put
power it off of that with
put one of those
a
StarTech
splitter.
industrial USB splitters in there, the powered
Yep.
hub.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Oh
do it
yeah.
that way.
Yeah, that'd be an option to keep it cleaner.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably just have like the plugs that you drill a hole, you stick the plug through it, and you got the 2 screws that hold it in place. Do that as a retrofit inside the machine next to the rotary. So you just take the USB from the rotary and plug it right into there while you're plugging in your rotary cable.
Yeah, those gantries still have a place for a switch there, don't they? Even though the
Yep,
switch not mounted.
I
Yeah,
believe so.
yeah, that would be a good place for a port if it needed to go there.
Yep. So there's a bunch of different options, but obviously trying to go for the least evasive and the easiest for people to do if they want to do it.
Hmm.
But like I said, the power wise, it'll be tied into the rotary. So once you plug in the rotary, the the control will be powered too, so everything will work.
Yeah,
You won't need an outside source to power it.
yeah, that'll be a neat feature.
Yep.
So that'll be almost a Thunder specific feature. Are there any other any other lasers that actually use an onboard driver, so they have to have power up to the motor, up to the rotary port?
Nope. The
See,
only other
there's
thing
a little bit
other
of
companies do.
exclusivity.
Yeah. Well, obviously that's what I built it to do, is work with it, because that's the easiest way. Otherwise, you have to have a separate power cable going up to it, and that can get kind of cumbersome, and people might not want to do that. And then tying it in with the motor that's already there, it's already got power to it. It's just a one plug, powers it up. You'll just need a USB cable, obviously, to control it. But that's relatively simple compared to having three different cables. But yeah, no, most others, they just use a jumper ground pin to switch between the Y and the rotary. Thunder's the only one that I know of that uses the U and has its own power at the plug.
Yeah, we keep all the motors isolated on that 36 volt supply so that it doesn't bog down the rest of the electronics.
So if I tie into that, that shouldn't put too much of a draw, because I know when I did on my 24, I put LED lights, and I actually had to get my own separate power supply because I tied into the factory LED power supply, and it put too much draw on it, and the lights would just sit there and like flicker. So I had to put a separate power supply in it to power the extra LEDs that I put in it. So I didn't know if hooking that up to the motor part, if that would do the same with that power system or not.
That rotary doesn't pull that much, and it's not under a bind. There's way more than enough. I think that's like let me see what I know which power supply it is.
Well, the only
I just need to find it, but I think it's like
the brake is powered at idle. So the rotary's powered at all times. So that's the only thing I can see. I haven't tested that part out fully yet, but I have to look and see what the voltage is, because I thought it was 24 to the motor, because the motor says 24.
Yeah,
volts.
no, it's 36 volts coming to the rotary. That's what's powering it. Now, whether it gets stepped down in the driver or something, but I don't think it does. But
I'll have to step it down. There's a board I can get. This is a 12 to 24 board. I can get a 12 to 36.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I can put a bigger or a higher voltage board in there.
Yeah.
If necessary, or just get a voltage step down for it.
Yeah, it'll be easy to get that down, but that power supply will easily handle it, because that's the only thing on it's those X, Y, and Z, and the rotary motors. Everything else is on the 24 volt supply. Awesome. All the electronics and stuff.
I will look into that.
Cool. How's it going, Brian? Are you the one with the pictures, with the line going through the pictures? Is that you?
No.
Okay.
No.
I've had a few lines going through pictures, and one of them looks optical, and I was gonna jump down a rabbit hole, but I won't.
What do you mean line going through a picture?
It
doesn't engrave, or it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't engrave on that area, or there's a blemish across that area or something like that. And typically it's like a dot on the mirror. It's something optical because it's flying. But
the only time I've had that happen to me is if I pause the job and then restart it. Sometimes it'll skip a line.
You stop it at the end of the swing or in the middle of it?
I try to stop it at the end of the swing.
Yeah. That's the only thing.
Theoretically, it shouldn't matter, but I've paused mine before and it's done some weird shuttery stuff.
Yeah. I don't like to pause if I don't have to.
I paused before, and then it starts in a whole nother section finishing the image. Yeah, that's only happened once, and it wasn't on a Thunder though. But I've had that happen
when I blew the circuit one time, and because our machines are smart enough to pick up where they left off if they lose power, which is amazing to me, because I'm an idiot and I blow circuits and stuff. But so when it's picked it up, it's I've seen it do some weird things where it's gone over, kind of backtracked a little bit, but it's never done like the pause where it skipped the line. So it's always done a really good job from that standpoint. But that's done some weird stuff.
So, well, cool. Like I said, if anybody's got anything, jump in ask or say. We'll be glad to field any of those calls. I still haven't come up with my curriculum yet, my schedule for some more curated or
Oh.
preconceived content. So
Yeah. So in that regard, or along that thought process, I threw together a Discord server. Thought that the people that, at least the regulars that kind of joined here, it would give us a place to kind of communicate and maybe even hash out some of that kind of stuff with you, Brian, and help kind of organize, and so that when we do these streams, it comes across a little bit more professional and organized.
sure, that would be awesome. I would love to have a full staff to do that, but
Yeah,
I don't.
well,
And
that's what I'm saying. Like,
and the
not a full
community
staff,
is so
maybe-
awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely, it kind of is. Each of you guys, every time you contribute on a page or something, you're getting closer to getting your own Thunder Laser tool bag. So we're keeping up with the chalk marks over here sometimes.
I should have a toolbox by this point.
I say, yeah, I don't even have a tool bag. I barely have a tool.
Oh, hey, Travis,
I'm
I
leaving
did
that
buy a
one
computer.
alone.
I
What?
found a good one. I did buy a computer finally.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I found they had one at Micro Center that came preloaded with a 3080 in it and the AMD 9 processor. So I went with that. It was like $2,500. It was a good deal.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
say,
it's
I
not-
just got my new computer in finally and got it set up, and it was a little more than that one.
I know.
Yeah.
You
Well,
got your big.
They're like my son. My son spent about 10 grand on his, but yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
mine was 5, but I've got DDR5 in it, and holy crap, it's a huge difference.
yeah,
That's what
I was
he's
supposed to
looking
be
at going
getting
to
an upgrade. Last week, I was going to get an upgrade from the one that I had.
Yeah.
But instead of that, I looked at it, and it is all AMD. It has the Ryzen processor and all that stuff in it, and everything is just right. Tough gaming BIOS, all of that stuff. And I was like, I can't wait. And my son's looking at me like this because he's wanting to play his stuff on his PC, and it just won't handle it. And I'm like, okay. So I gave it to him because it was smaller and quieter and bigger and better, and I wanted it so bad, but I didn't take it. So I'm liable to glitch out and only make it a few more minutes if I did unplug a few monitors.
Right.
And I've got an extra, I've set it, but I'm actually going to do it. I think I've got a 3000 series chiller over here that ought to run pretty quiet. And I think I'm going to start cooling it with that instead of those two little fans that are in it. Because I've got a water block on it
Are you
already.
running a
There you
graphics
go.
card? Are you running straight off the CPU, or do you have a graphics card?
Oh, I've got a card. It's a GTX 1080 or 1060 or something like that. It's a pretty hot card, and it's all water cooled. So
Hey,
but
Brian, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Before you start glitching like you did last week, turn around and make Travis or I presenters really fast. And that way we can end your recording for you.
Yeah, that was fun last week. We're like, no one's a presenter.
Yeah, I have no idea what to do when that happens. So
It
I
said
didn't
that
even
would end
bother.
in one. It said it would end in one.
Did I?
Now you
I
did it,
did
Jim.
something.
Okay,
There we
what?
go.
Oh, would you already make me? Okay, I was sitting there going, "What the heck just happened to my earphones?" But yeah, it literally never shut off.
Really?
I don't know that I ever got an email saying that it was done. Is that one that I'll need to go back and trim stuff and probably a lot of dead air in?
Probably trim a good 10 hours out of it, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we just left Sam on there, and I don't even know if Sam ever even got up or not because we closed
Yeah,
it out.
I don't know either.
Sam was doing out something in his truck, talking to somebody,
Oh no.
and we all left, and it was like, well, hopefully Sam closes his window eventually because if not, Brian is in trouble.
I'll have a 36-hour recording.
Yeah.
I gotta run, Brian. I'll catch you guys next week.
See you
All
later,
right, man.
Jason.
Take care. So,
But in situations like that, is there any way that once you're a presenter, you can't, like, if you would give Travis or I admin rights to your stuff for this year so we can shut it off, is
Yeah.
Or is it once you're
I
presented?
just need to, so what you're saying is I need to just assign a beneficiary before each one of these sessions.
Yeah, I did. I
Pretty
just that way
much.
we can help.
Can we get a
you
copy of
control
that
which-
living will for this?
Yeah.
Just that way we can help you out if stuff does happen like that, so you don't have a.
Sure.
Well,
Well,
here pretty soon, probably next month, we're going to be shifting the after hours over to Mad Moose's platform because we're going to be starting to invite not just the Thunder community, but other communities all the way down to Glowforge communities to join in. So it'll still be kind of an after hours event, but it'll be a lot more people.
muddy in that water, aren't you?
Trying to, but when I get to go, well, yeah, you've got a Glowforge, there's your problem, but look what I can do with the Thunder.
Well,
Right.
Travis, that means if you do that, you do realize you're going to have to get a Glowforge.
Yeah.
No.
How much
Simple
you
as
want
that.
to bet,
No.
Jim? Jim,
We're,
let's
I'm
bet
gonna
now
I'm
how
gonna
long it
start by
takes
like
before it
adding in
dies
like I'll start by we'll be adding in Boss and Aeon and a couple of those other groups. Let me make sure here.
Um,
I just sent it again.
well, I think we have a Thunder versus Glowforge thing somewhere that somebody did, don't we? Or do we? I
I
don't
still
know.
Yeah.
want one to cut in half.
We have 2 of them.
I'm still waiting to see that happen.
Yeah, right now I'm actually fighting something that I never thought I'd have to fight. My 80 watt is too powerful.
The Thunder?
Yeah.
Really? Why? What are you trying to do?
Laser engrave on some cheap shot glasses. Normally
Hey,
we use
Is it heating
normally
it
we
up
use
too
more
much and
legal
cracking them?
ones. Huh?
Is it heating it up too much and cracking them?
No, the etching is flaking off, which means I'm putting too much power on it.
Gotcha.
I have to
the
give you my
Vector?
settings, Brian, or Travis, because I've
Is
been
it-
able to run that with no problem.
Well, the
Is it-
problem that I'm running into is when I get my power too low, now I'm getting banding because it's a really small logo that I'm putting on there, so there's not a ton of time for it to fire the
Yeah.
laser. So I've got to run it. I'm already running at 600 DPI trying to help it out.
Yeah.
Are
And
you running?
T-Bill
Is it a
is out.
Vector?
That's enough
Huh?
of that.
Is it a Vector? Are you doing a field Vector?
Yeah.
Why don't you turn it into a JPEG and do it at 80%? That way it'll dither and it'll space them out instead of firing
you go.
continuously back and forth.
Because I didn't think of that.
Good idea.
I could probably do that though.
That's the stuff I need to learn to come up with quick, because I can't think.
That's an
of-
old epilogue trick. Whenever you see them talking about doing glass and stuff, they say always set your gradation to 80% or your whatever transparency or
Yeah.
your grayscale or whatever to 80%. That's why. So you don't have so much saturation and it spreads them out a little bit.
I thought
That
it
might
was
that
trying to
might
comprehend
and
that.
that'll also attenuate that power a little bit because it's really going to be pulsing.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be truly making dots. So
Oh,
that
do a
might be an
video on
option.
that, Brian.
That's not good.
I'm sorry.
You should do a video on that.
Oh, on how to convert that to a JPEG and do that? Yeah, we can do
Yeah.
that.
That's what I was going to ask for us people that, you talk about 10 feet over our heads half the time.
That's good info.
Can we get the morons version of this?
That's what I just said.
So
Let me see it.
Did you guys
One
like
of us
take the
can make
day
a
off or
video,
something?
I'm sure.
Not in the shop.
It's not very difficult. Or there we go. Yeah. Here we go.
So
Live.
here, since I'm so creative, I'm going to
it's
put
not
some
hard.
text there. And right now, this is a vector, right? It's a filled vector. So let me pull this back over
You're
here.
pretty
It's
good
going to
on
do
it.
this.
Well, then let me try.
So
I'm gonna try something else then here, babe.
what we can do is convert this to a bitmap, I guess, use cut settings, and I don't know about DPI. Let's make it about what 318 or 317, which is about usually what our LPI is anyway, something like that. It doesn't matter. I don't even know if it matters.
Not much.
And two, I don't like the way that worked. That may not be the best way to turn that into a bitmap, but it is an image now. So let's see what we can do for it. And I'm going to drag this over. This is already accomplishing what I want it to do in a rough manner, you see?
Yep.
So that's newsprint. You know, if you did it sticky or something like that, you're going to get dots instead of solid. And I think that'll help attenuate it. And, you know, that way you're hitting every other space, not just spraying across it with the power. So that's kind of the difference.
Where's the 80% come in at?
It's what percentage of this is still white space. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Like the grayscale,
Right.
basically. So I
You
guess
can
in that,
adjust the image. You can like enhance the radius and do stuff like that and enhance the amount, and that kind of
Right.
changes things too. Contrast and brightness will change, you know, how far apart they're spaced.
yeah.
You just got to kind of play with all those image settings that are right there, and just until it gets what you want, and not much more, because you kind of get to that point where it's going to look good, and then all of a sudden it's going to look horrible.
Yeah. See, and then threshold only sees the farthest differences between contrast, you know, between black and white. So this is what you don't want, because your laser's just firing solid back and forth, just spraying the crap out of it. So that's kind of my thought behind it. If you go to something like this, you're still going to get the patterning. You're still going to get the letter. It's just going to break it up a little bit so that the power is dispersed across it a little more evenly, and maybe it won't spall and crack like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's kind of how that works. And there's a bunch of different dithering modes in here. You know, the most common ones for photorealistic, halftone.
Yeah. And then do like 200 cells per inch instead of 50.
Oops.
So doing this will benefit us since we have the 130.
Yes, that can help, definitely. This is kind of akin to, in the vector thought of it, of using perforation mode instead of line mode, so that you can score without burning in so deep on some of those higher wattage machines. So this is the engraved version of that, I guess. You could loosely, you know, associate that with it to get the power attenuated. And I have no idea how this will come out, you know, or which way it needs
I'll
to
let
be
you know
set.
here in just a second.
I mean, does that sound feasible? I mean, it sounds feasible that if you don't blast the entire area, it has less chance to actually break off, you know, if it's more evenly dispersed. So
Yeah, we'll see. Is it 6?
Ooh, my new equipment's getting here. Yes, I can finally run my
Yes,
camera.
Jim, to answer your question, we had deliveries this morning, and a pizza break and a blizzard break and picking up supplies. So yeah, we took the day off.
Blizzard?
awesome. Sometimes you have to do that.
What blizzard?
Yeah, it's 50 degrees in Nebraska. How can you have a blizzard going on?
Dairy Queen.
Oh, I'm
That
sitting
kind
there
of
going,
blizzard.
I didn't know that there was a blizzard even going on in the
Yeah.
U.S. right now. I mean, like Saturday, we're supposed to be 70, and that's like a miracle here in
Well,
Ohio.
we were 80 degrees yesterday, and Sunday we're supposed to have snow. So global warming, I love it. It's doing wonders for my winters, though.
I'm going to make it snow because I'm officially pulling the snowblower out of the shop this weekend because I'm tired of moving around it. It's going back to the shed. I'm just not going to drain the gas out of it yet, but it will snow within 4 to 5 days probably by the time I move everything in the shed to go bury it again.
Yeah, it's like 75 here, you know, it's nice. And then it'll be freezing tomorrow. So.
Yeah, that's same thing we're going through. It's so weird. It was literally 80 degrees yesterday. Today's 50, and Sunday we're supposed to have snow.
Oh, this will be a project or I guess a discussion on don't ever count yourself out and think things are completely possible in life. Because the only reason why I looked, because I just happened to look in the camera, that sitting there, that cedar chest sitting there.
Yeah.
When I got it in, when I called the lady today because she hadn't heard from me in so long, she thought it was a trash project and that I wasn't even going to do it for her, and she just chalked it up that we weren't going to mess with it. Her husband had put that in the shed, and she wanted to give it for her daughter. But what she didn't realize, and I didn't realize when they dropped it off, it was covered in cat urine.
Oh, good Lord.
Completely covered. That looks good.
Did that do better?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I've got a
Looks
increased
good.
my power just a smidge because I'm still getting a little bit of unstable banding on it.
You
But
think
all
that
in
might
all, it's
help
not bad.
achieve what you think without getting that chip in?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that didn't chip at all, which was nice.
Cool.
Hold it up to the camera again while you're talking so it zooms in on you.
Hold on. Wait.
But anyways, I
Load it.
normally you would just not even mess with a project like that.
Mhm.
That's cool. You finished it?
And stripped it, and I had to keep playing with it. But my shop, it's been a year because I kept having to leave it sit. But my shop for probably 4 months smelled nothing like a cat pee. The airborne part of it, it was
Yeah.
horrible in here.
I'll show it off a little better.
Mhm.
But
That's
There you
hard to
after
get out
leaving
too.
it sit for a year and letting it just completely air itself out, it came out amazing. And I only had like 2 small spots where I figured urates were coming back through into my lacquer because it left a couple ripples in my lacquer.
Yeah.
But don't ever give up on a project. It's just one of those things. Just don't ever give up on a project because everything's possible, especially when you're dealing with as bad as that was.
I wonder
I
if
should
an
have.
ozone generator would have helped at all.
I don't know. I tried UVing, which I was scared of that just because of UV on the wood, but that was like last resort. But I'd actually ran Nature's Miracle and
Yeah.
wiped it down a few
Enzyme.
times to break down the enzymes because I didn't know how the stain would go. But literally just letting Mother Nature take her process and just let it sit bare. And I knew once my cats quit sniffing it,
It's chipping now.
And it
they
was
were
good.
literally, my dog and my cats were ignoring it.
Right.
So I knew it was getting close. Well, I brought the humidity up, sprayed it a little bit to raise the grain to see what would happen. I had literally zero smell in it.
That's awesome.
But the thing is, the urates are still there. It's the proteins are still sitting there. But literally, it came out. I think it came out pretty compared to what it walked in here looking like.
I
Mhm.
bet. Did you take pictures?
Yeah, the befores and the afters. I mean, that's the basically after of it. She wanted it more older and rusticy looking, so
So what part of it did you laser engrave?
nothing.
Oh.
I probably could have actually one. I didn't even have the laser when that came in here.
Well, cool. So are you guys gonna hang out and do your thing?
Yeah, for a few minutes.
Might as
Okay.
well.
Cool. Does anybody have any questions before I jump off of here? I'm probably a little behind on my tickets. I've been tight.
But you're always behind on your tickets.
I'm always.
That's nothing new.
I mean, we're up to almost 7,000 tickets in 2 years now, so we're working through them pretty good. That's a lot of tickets. So we got yeah. Hang on, let me stop recording.
I got it.
You got it.
Recording.